Yes, sir. We're cozy up, boys. Let's go. All right, we're back here with another banger. All right, coming out with something new here. We're gonna start doing some reactions. I think give it a little try here. We got some little horror videos. We're gonna start getting into some real horror stories. All right, some animations, maybe some real ones. If I feel brave. But you know what time that is, right? You got a reaction video, you got some horror stuff, you want to grab your snacks, get some drinks, all right? You got a granola bar, okay? You got some popcorn, some pretzels, some Coke, some water. Make sure you're hydrating, y'all, all right? It's getting hot out, summertime. So anyways, let's get it right into it. I'm straightforward. We're going to be watching today MJV animations, all right? Down here, let's give that a like for the video that we're reacting to, and let's give a subscribe. I don't know if I say that right. Subscribe. Let's give a lock in here. We got the mic on, y'all. All right. 3 creepy true wilderness. I skipped a few English classes. I think it's wilderness. Correct me on that. Horror stories animated. Let's get it.
This was in 2016, but I remember every detail of the night, as if it had just happened. I go out in the woods just south of the town I live in, pretty frequently, at least 4 or 5 times a year. This weekend, I kind of just had that.
Hey, I'm a big nature guy, alright? Sometimes you need a little action in the woods, right? All cool with me. Starting off pretty nice. Pretty normal.
Urge to get out and have some time alone. So I quickly filled my backpack and drove down to my favorite trail.
He knows the trail, guys, alright? That's good.
Even an actual trail that was marked on maps and all that.
Oh.
Nobody was ever hiking it or camping.
It's a little shady, guys.
So I'm really not sure if it was well known. I parked on the side of the road near the trees, got my bag out, and hiked for 2 hours to the end. This part...
Yeah, no, that's where you got me. You're never gonna catch me hiking more than an hour, guys. I mean... What are we doing here? That's fun, walking for that long? Please, get out.
Part of the woods wasn't mountainous or anything.
Too much conditioning.
It was very flat and just densely covered in trees.
Got it.
Great for a chill 1 or 2 day camping trip, but definitely nothing more than that, as it can get kind of boring. The campsite had nothing really to it. There was a few hours until sunset, so I took my time getting everything perfect and starting the campfire. I relaxed and ate some trail mix. Just enjoying the warm fire.
That's valid. That's valid. I can mess with some trail mix.
When the sun got lower, I tossed more sticks in. I always found it interesting how quickly the forest goes from being so alive to almost instantly.
What do you mean by that? Alive? Oh, he must be talking about like the animals and stuff. All right, my bad.
Getting quiet once the sun sets. I sat there and listened to the quietness for only about 25 minutes after dark, before a strange sound interrupted the silence. It was music.
Oh, absolutely.
It was coming from the distance.
Music coming from the woods, I'm out.
And it sounded like some old classical song. It almost sounded like an old record player. I stood up and looked in the direction it was coming from. Was there another campsite nearby? Maybe it was a group just casually playing some music, albeit really loudly.
Yeah, I would just stay there,
stayed at my campsite and just listened for a while.
Crazy.
Had to be 30 minutes at least. But what was so odd, and honestly kinda eerie, was that the song never changed.
Yeah, no,
it was the same classical song on repeat, filling the void of the silent woods. I'm not one to usually care much if other campers are nearby, or having a loud bonfire party, or whatever they're doing. But this felt different. Something was off, and I didn't like it. After those 30 minutes, I decided to walk a bit closer, just to see what was going on. I didn't want to creep on anyone, but just wanted to make sure it was nothing weird, so I'd be able to sleep tonight. I grabbed my flashlight and started walking toward the sound. I felt like I was walking pretty far, which made it...
If you were walking towards the music in the woods, in the dark, You are asking for it. All right. First off, I mean, to those campers, I mean, shout out to y'all, because I'm personally not doing that. But if you are, buddy, what are we doing here? What are we're asking for it?
Even weirder that I could hear it from so far away.
Yeah, no,
the closer I got, though, and the louder the music got, something started to feel really creepy.
So why
I could tell I had
it?
goosebumps, and my heart was beating a little faster. It was then that I realized I'd only brought my flashlight.
Dude, I'll never understand it. Now you think of it. Now you want to bring the pocket knife. Now you want to bring the pepper spray.
Pocket knife.
What was going through your whole mind
but I didn't
when you're
even think about
following
it.
music in the woods?
Eventually, I could tell I was getting really close. The music had to be coming from just 30 or 40 feet away, but I couldn't see anything. No bonfire or campfire or light of any kind. And then
that's not that bad, y'all. A little, alright, it's a speaker, alright?
Kind of propped up behind a tree.
It's not that bad.
Nothing
just turn
else
it off, you're out of
it.
there, alright?
I shined my flashlight everywhere, and there were no signs of anyone. I walked up to the speaker. It looked like an old one from the early 2000s.
But, you know,
basically just a giant box
right off,
with an old LCD display and worn out buttons to control it.
There you go.
I found the power button and turned it off. Suddenly, the forest was silent. The stark difference was eerie. Who did this? It almost felt like a trap or something. Like another camper leaving it behind on accident. Or, I don't know. Nothing really made sense.
Got attacked by a bear?
But I really didn't want to think it was the worst. I didn't stay longer than I had to. I hurried back to my campsite,
a little smart now, finally.
Feeling relieved to see my campfire and get back to what felt like the safety of my camp. However, as the minutes passed, I couldn't shake a strange feeling that loomed over me, like something was still off, but I didn't know what it was. The feeling got worse and worse until I remembered about my knife and pepper
Buddy, I'm
spray,
sorry, that knife's not doing anything to anybody.
If I kept them nearby, I'd feel
small.
safer. But that's when I realized what was off.
What?
Things were missing. My matches for starting fires, my cooking utensils, and both my knife and pepper spray, all just gone. My body tensed up. Someone was here.
Oh!
I didn't even have to think for a second longer.
Oh, you out of there?
Packing what was left. And as I did, I heard it again.
Not
the music playing from out in the darkness of the woods.
Not. You were out of there, bro.
Definitely not far out where I'd found it before.
Pause it. Can y'all see that? Okay, not the muscles. Literally hairs are up, bro. Absolutely
I hurried,
not.
getting out of the campsite and running down to the trail. As I got further and heard the music fading out, I started to feel a little bit better. Still freaked out, but I thought whoever was out there had to be by the speakers where the music was coming from, which meant I was getting further away from them.
True.
I got about 15 minutes down the path, now just walking through the quiet forest, far away from any of the music. And that's when I spotted something ahead, laying on the dirt trail. It was my stuff. The knife, pepper spray, utensils, everything that was missing.
Pick it up.
Someone laid it out perfectly lined up in the middle of the trail.
Pick the knife up, bro.
What was the catch? Before I could grab any of it, I heard a flurry of footsteps rushing behind me.
Pick the knife up.
I looked back, seeing nothing but darkness. So I just sprinted away, leaving it all behind. I ran
pick the
for
knife up
like
Yusuf,
10 whole minutes, then continued jogging / fast walking for the rest of the way.
Bro.
Thankfully, I got out of that
He's
forest
about to get run over,
and
watch
back
it.
to the road. I really can't say what the hell I experienced that night. It feels like somehow I barely managed to escape some psycho, almost like they were playing with their food.
Yeah,
I haven't been back to that forest, and I never plan to.
Never could be me. Never could be me. That's a banger. That was pretty good. I ain't even gonna lie. A little speaker creeped me out a bit. Anyways. Next story.
I was solo camping on a trail just an hour north of Fairbanks, Alaska, near the White Mountains mountain range. I had been at the spot, set up with my tent and everything, for 2 days already. It was just past noon, and I'd made a campfire early, sitting around it and enjoying a meal when a man showed up. It startled me, as I hadn't seen anyone, or even really any wildlife, for the whole 2 days that I'd been out there.
Bro just spawned
I also didn't hear him walking up, or even see where he came from, whether it was from the trail or just the wilderness. He looked like your typical camper though, backpack gear and everything, and he seemed kind enough. He simply asked if I knew where the cabin was. Although I'd never been to the cabin he was mentioning,
this dude's
I did know
definitely
what
the killer.
he was talking
Calling
about.
it right now.
A lot of trails around here have these public shelters, like really small cabins that you can use temporarily along your hikes.
That's weird. Is that a real thing?
Usually they aren't really maintained
it's a real
and
story,
are just on a first come first served basis. During the 2 days I was at this campsite, I saw a separate thin path going into the forest that I assumed led to one of those shelters. I let the man know that if there was a cabin here, it was probably down there. He thanked me and walked away.
R.I.P. to that other dude. That dude's about to get teared up by a bear or something.
I was just surprised someone else happened to be out here as well. I tended to the fire and relaxed for the rest of the day. This was the last night I planned to stay here before heading back, so I just wanted to enjoy the scenery and calmness. It was probably 9 or 10 p.m., but around this time of year up in Alaska, the sun doesn't fully set really.
That's good. We don't want it pitch black.
But not pitch black like it would in most other places. The sun was at the horizon, casting a shadow over the woods, the trees. I saw someone walking toward me. As they got closer, I saw it was the camper from earlier. I was rightfully confused why he was here, but he explained right away that he couldn't find the shelter. I said maybe there wasn't one, I really didn't know, but the man corrected himself, saying he never found the trail that I was talking about, and was hoping I'd show him to it.
Shady.
I thought it was strange he was gone for so long, if he never found the trail. Like, why was he coming back hours later? What was he doing for that whole time, if not staying in the shelter? I initially just tried to explain again where the trail was, but he was kind of set on having me lead the way. He sorta guilt-tripped me, saying he didn't have a tent and was relying on that shelter for the night. I felt bad, and even though I didn't want to, and found this whole thing a little bit odd, I decided I'd just take him to the path. It wasn't far anyway. I tossed my bag over my shoulders and started leading him there. Where I was sure I'd seen it was maybe a 10-minute walk through the forest. The whole walk there, the guy was pretty quiet. We both just walked without talking much. It felt like something had changed. 10 minutes later though, I found the trail. It was exactly where I said it was.
Into a trap.
Like there was no way he could have missed it. And even weirder, sure it was far, and trees were blocking a good portion of it, but there's just no way he didn't find it from the directions I gave him. We walked a little closer.
Oh no, look at him in the back.
The man didn't seem satisfied. I was expecting a thank you or something, but instead, he said this wasn't the right cabin. I didn't know what he meant.
What do you mean it's not the right cabin?
We kept walking, pretty much going right up to the cabin. It definitely didn't look in good shape, but that's always the risk you take with these sort of public shelters. You really should never rely on them. This one looked worse than most, with broken windows, moldy wood, and just overall like it'd been deserted for years. I realized as I was looking at it, the man had gone quiet. I turned around. He had stopped walking, standing maybe 10 feet from me and holding out a knife. His face was stiff, and his eyes had a dead stare.
Oh, nah.
He told me in a monotone and emotionless voice to go in. I tried to ask what the hell he was doing, but he told me again, without answering, to go inside the cabin. My adrenaline was flowing. I was angry that he'd taken advantage of me being helpful, but also scared shitless, knowing that I was alone with him out here. I decided going into the cabin was probably the worst option in this case. There was still some distance between us, so I dropped my bag and started running. Weirdly, I didn't hear him chase me. I looked back once I got further into the woods, and he was still just standing there, holding the knife and staring at me. After I got further into the forest, I found a good place to hide, then stayed there for a while, probably 30 minutes.
Yo, this is crazy,
that was enough time for the guy to leave. Then, in the cover of the dark, I quietly moved through the trees and back to where the shelter was.
You just gotta find a way out of there.
The man was gone, or at least not standing outside of the cabin like he was before. But my bag was gone too. I thought I was being smart by dropping it, so I'd be able to run away faster. But since he didn't chase me, now I felt like maybe it was a bad decision. I had basically everything in that bag. My phone, wallet, keys, literally everything.
So we just think to drop everything.
I quietly left the area.
That's never the first reaction,
toward my campsite.
Like, come on, yo.
I could feel my
things
heart
in the bag.
beating
Use
faster
the bag and
as I got closer, just sensing that I wasn't alone still. Then I saw it. The bright glow of a campfire burning right in the middle of my campsite. I thought by now it would have burned out. I walked a little closer, seeing my tent was still up, and from what I could see, the man was nowhere around. It was just the near silent woods.
Watch the bag,
quiet crackling fire. But then I saw my bag. It was sitting right in the middle of the campsite.
Straight trap.
Part of me really wanted to run up and grab it, but I also knew this was extremely suspicious.
Grab it.
Why'd he bring it back? He must have known I was going to go back to the cabin for my bag, and after not finding it, I'd then go back to the campsite. Even knowing all that, and that this had to be too good to be true, I was still about to run up and snatch it, when all of a sudden, the man appeared. He casually walked out of the darkness behind the campfire, tossing in some more sticks, and then sitting down. I could hear him humming to himself too, like he was relaxed.
Come up from behind, hit him with the little Charles Oliveira headlock, and get out of here.
I turned around and found the main trail, and hiked through the dark all the way back to the road. It took me hours to flag down a car who was willing to help me.
Bro, watch the
I then notified police, and they went out to the forest with rangers in the morning, only to find nothing. All my stuff was gone, as if it were never there. Even the stones from the campfire were moved and thrown back into the forest, like they were trying to cover up that it was ever even a campsite.
Yo, that's insane.
The rangers also informed me that the cabin out there was discontinued, which just meant that no rangers were taking care of it or servicing it anymore. That encounter had me really uneasy for a long time.
Crazy.
I couldn't trust anyone.
Yeah, nah, you're never gonna see me in a campsite after that.
But I can't help myself from thinking about what might have happened if I'd gone into that deserted shelter or had tried to get my bag. I was likely one bad decision away from never leaving those woods.
Damn, yo. Alright, y'all. Hope y'all enjoyed. Comment down below what other videos you want me to react to.